Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm so glad to be here with my friend Dailila Alegria, who is joining me actually from Mexico at the moment. So pretty cool that we're able to make this happen. So thank you so much for your time and for joining me.
No, thank you for
Where are you?
Cabo San Lucas right now.
Awesome, awesome. We were just talking offline about, how hard you work and how good it is to see you kind of getting back out there and traveling and balancing out the life. But I know a lot of us struggle with that sometimes. But I'm glad you finally gave yourself permission to get back out there and travel.
Yeah, it's all about knowing your flow and balance. And I think that's like the hardest part of this journey is to be able to balance between your masculine and your feminine, regardless if you're a male or female, it doesn't matter. We have
Right.
the energies in between. Yeah.
Totally, totally. So we met years ago. God, it's got to be, I don't want to say, but probably 20 years ago now that I really think about it. I was in Canada. You were dating a friend of mine at Gavilan College back in the day. And that was kind of how we became friends. And then we realized over the years that we just had a lot of different mutual friends in common. And I think, I don't know what exact year it was your kind of switch to kind of the fitness industry. But that was kind of when we were able to reconnect. And I've just been, you know, proud of your journey and, grateful to have been there as a friend to see kind of that evolution, all the different seasons over the years. From music and nightlife that we were involved in to now fitness and spirituality and some of the other things, so kind of bringing it all full circle. But yeah, for those that don't know, please, I mean, I know there's so much to the story, but kind of just start with where you're from. Where did you grow up?
Let's see, like first it was like Gilroy, California. That's where like my mom kind of immigrated to from Mexico to the United States. Met my stepdad, and my stepdad and my mom met when I was like 6 months old. So then from there, when I was probably like first grade, they went to Hollister, which is a very small town in right close to Gilroy, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, from there, I just grew up in Hollister, and then I actually went back to Gilroy as I grew like graduated high school. And for me, like being from a small town, like there's I always tell people there's a positive and a negative to everything, right?
Right. Right.
From a small town, I feel like there's like this positive like unionship. There's like a very closeness ship. There's also
Right.
the stagnant mindset shift.
Yeah. 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 Totally.
And
Totally.
I think that like people like myself and other people that just like are about their spiritual journey about growth, they're like, I need to get out of here. I need to like explore the world. I need to find out what's more than just like this mundane, like day-to-day type of stuff.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah, I
think,
can relate, being from Castroville, which is even smaller than Hollister.
right?
But
Yeah.
I was fortunate to get out and travel. But I know, like you said, a lot of our friends, and it can be a blessing too. It can be a beautiful life if you marry your high school sweetheart and you stay together and you stay in the same town. I mean, there's something to be said for that too. But for those of us who feel that call to more and to explore, like, you can't stay in a small town forever.
Yeah. I think it's like I realized as I'm like, what, we're 40 now, right?
Yeah.
Everything's fucking perfect. Everything's fucking perfect. Like your path is exactly what it should have been.
Yeah.
Where you cross paths with the different people at the right time, at the right place, at the right residence. It's just
Yeah.
it's just perfect. And I think we make it so much harder than what it is at the most part.
Well, I think, yeah, part of it is because it's easier to say that in hindsight, right? It's when you're in the middle of it, it doesn't feel perfect, right? It's just like now that you're obviously, bodybuilder and a coach and all those things, a trainer. It's painful in the process, right? Until it's done and you see the results, then you can look back and appreciate it. But usually you don't when you're going through the pain, right? In the middle of it, right?
No, you're in the fire when you're in the grunt of everything. It's just like you really question yourself of why am I doing what I'm doing? But once you pass that point of just like realizing like, everything served its purpose.
Yeah, totally. So you grew up in a small town, Hollister, were at Gavilan College, and then you ended up at San Jose State as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. I went to San Jose State right after. I had already had two kids while I went to San Jose State. So I think that's what's like lightweight special about my journey. Not that single moms go to college or don't go to college. It's just more of like that's what made it a bit harder than most journeys.
Totally, totally.
And I tell all the girls, it's just like regardless of where you came from, if you want it bad enough, you'll do it.
Totally. I cannot believe that your daughter is now around that age and your son, but seeing the pictures and how much they've grown, it's crazy to me to see that, now that she's going to be in college next year or in a couple of years.
Yeah, in August. So we're in April now. She'll leave me in like 4 or 5 months.
Oh
So
my God. How is that? How does that feel, that full circle?
it feels special in the fact that like I feel like I've been so much of an example for her of
Yeah.
what an independent, strong woman looks like
Yeah.
and what that feels like and what to say no to. Um, you know, everybody's path is different depending on the generations and what
Yeah.
they've seen. So it's just like whatever they accept to be true is going to be right for them. So I'm just hoping whatever she decides, like it'll be perfect for her journey regardless.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard sometimes when, we have hopes or plans for our loved ones and maybe they have a different hope or plan for their own life. And I'm not a parent yet, but I can't imagine that feeling of like, you've done so much growth yourself, but it's another thing when it's your own child, right? And having that having those desires for them and hopefully that they follow that ideal path. But so single mom, knocking out college. What did you study in college?
I studied marketing, actually, business marketing.
Awesome. I decided to go back last year, which I was 39. So it's weird to be like now in college full time in my 40s when I wish I would have done it in my 20s, but I'm grateful now, older than some of my professors, but I'm juggling without kids. I'm juggling full-time job, full-time school, running a business, creating content. And it's like, it's a lot. But part of the reason I'm able to do it is because we don't have kids yet. But I could, kudos to anyone, a single parent or people who've had to work full time and go to college because it really is a sacrifice. Something has to give, whether it's sleep or your social life or your health or, so somewhere along the lines, something's going to be sacrificed in order to pull it all off. But I think you've done a great job, balancing all that. Probably didn't have it all figured out in the beginning, but as you've gotten older, you kind of figured that out. But when you got your degree, I remember I think you got into the technology industry, right? In like communications.
So 2015 is when I graduated from San Jose State with my business degree. So it was with marketing.
Yeah.
I started in there, and then progressively, I just like I told everybody 2017 was like my pivot year, which was like in spirituality, what's called the dark night of the soul.
Mm,
Everything was taken away from me, from my relationship, from my job, from my friendships, like everything. And so that year I made a shift to be like, okay, I had partied my life away the previous uh, shift. Let me just heal myself and let go of all the negativity in my life.
mm,
So I think that transition from like the old self to the new self really served me. And
mm.
it was the hardest thing. I think, like I tell my clients, like for you to become healthy, you have to let go of the things that make you unhealthy, you know?
Yeah, that's
And
hard.
it is 100% because you're so addicted to those things. Like your friends and family like to drink and eat. And when you want to become healthy, you can't you have to let go of those things. So for you to
Yeah,
let go of that version of yourself, it will be like a death, like a grieving type
yeah,
of thing. Um,
yeah,
but but honestly, real talk as a coach, as a person that has been through the journey, um, I know it's hard and
yeah.
I know it's the best thing you can do for your health, for your own self-evolution, but I can't dictate when people do that.
Right. So
So
you were in the corporate world, you finished college in the corporate world, partying, traveling, and then all of a sudden, like you said, it was like, and that's happened to me in different seasons. It's like when it rains, it pours, right? Like all the things, relationships, financial, family, personal, all these things all at once sometimes can start to fall apart. And it's easy, like you said, to revert to old crutches or old um, things that we might be addicted to, whether it's people and relationships, or whether it's substances, whether it's food, which is our probably most common American addiction, right? That's more socially acceptable than some of the others, but it's equally, or if not more, as destructive, right? I remember because that's around the time we reconnected was about 2017, 2018. And just to go from kind of the path you were on to all of a sudden your personal transformation. But then when did you decide like, okay, I'm going to get certified. I'm going to actually like do this for a living and actually become kind of a coach and the author and the teacher that you become now.
that was definitely the 2017, 2018 year.
Yeah.
But it's crazy as much as like I reflect now, 2018 to now, 7 years has passed. Like I'm a completely different being because of like the investment in time that I like really invested in not only like my knowledge base in getting to know all the spiritual practices, but then also the application between the spiritual practices.
Mm.
So it's just been a huge shift in those 7 years of just like all these lessons that you learn through them.
Well, it seems like you were doing things kind of simultaneously, right? Usually, a lot of people will get into one or the other. Either they'll go hardcore into fitness and bodybuilding, which is a whole lifestyle of its own, right? And then, or they'll go kind of hardcore into spirituality and religion and that kind of stuff. And you kind of, it seemed like you did both kind of at the same time. So, what was that like?
I feel like it was a blessing because like I had already my spiritual practices prior to bodybuilding, but when bodybuilding came into my life, it was just more of like excelling in discipline level in all aspects of my life.
Yeah.
But like I did not miss a habitual meditation. Every day was a practice of meditation, of gratitude, of intentionality, of like the meal plan that I was on to be able to like develop myself and like the muscles that I needed to develop and the like workouts and the training and the release work, everything had to be aligned 100%. I think it was just a blessing that I already had that forefront of discipline prior to bodybuilding. And when bodybuilding came to align, like I think it's called a threefold. I developed in 1 year what people can develop in 3 years
Mm,
because I had so much discipline already in those spiritual
yeah.
practices.
So what? That's crazy. Yeah. What, when people decide to get healthy or get fit or whatever, that's one journey, but you took it to a whole other level, right? Competing in bodybuilding competitions and all that comes with that. So how is that? I mean, for the average person that doesn't know, what is that like? Like, what is a day in the life of a new bodybuilder like? And there's a reason why so few people do it because it's so extreme, but for you, it was like transformative.
Yeah, I think it was a healing journey for me, honestly. It was just more of like letting go of the old version of myself. Again, I partied, I like traveled, I did all these things. And at the end of those things, like it just was not fulfillment for me.
Mm,
It was just like emptiness and it was fun at the moment, but it never really resonated at the end.
yeah.
So with bodybuilding, the shift, it was just more of like it was a future outcome. I'm doing this for my future self.
Mm,
And then that like created a mental aspect, a physical aspect where I'm just like I'm building, I'm creating, I'm building brick by brick, habit by habit, this thing that I don't know what's gonna like accumulate out of it, but I feel like it's gonna do something good, not only for myself or other people too. I think I always had other people in mind, no matter what I did.
yeah. And how I think I remember talking about it at the time. I don't think it was completely well received from all your friends and family in the beginning, right? Because you kind of disappeared and all of a
Mhm.
sudden you're not the same person, you're not doing the same things. And I know that was a lonely road, but how now that you've kind of transformed not only your personally, but you've also it's led into a lifestyle, it's led into a movement that you've created. Now the people that maybe doubted you in the beginning have become believers because you've been so consistent. So how was that in the beginning that initial like resistance people had toward the change?
Yeah, I remember my mom saying like, "Who are you?" You know what I mean? And that's the hardest
Well,
part to go
Mexican moms love languages like feeding you, right? So if you're denying their food, it's like a slap in the face.
through. 100%.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why you're working so hard. You're not who you're not normal. All these things, like subconsciously, it kind of hurt
Yeah.
me, don't get me wrong. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, like I had a bigger dream, I had a bigger goal. I was
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like I know my mom like loves me, but she's so limited in her mindset and her way of being. So
Yeah.
for me to like actually extract myself and like become more, it's gonna be uncomfortable no matter what.
Yeah.
So I mean, I chose something that like most people wouldn't. She wanted me to be normal, quote unquote, and I'm just like, I'm not here to be normal and be here to be me.
So I know you were an athlete growing up, right? You're like softball and cheer and different sports, but how did you go from like being an athlete, generally fit by most standards, right? But not like super hardcore. All of a sudden now, like give us the day in the life when you first started of like the crazy sleep schedule, the water, the diet, like not to mention the actual lifting and the supplementation. Like what was it like going from like an average athlete to all of a sudden now you're professional?
I would say like 2020 to 21, right?
Okay.
I think when you have the right mentors, the right coaches, and the right mindset, you're gonna elevate really fast.
Mm,
So in 2020, when the COVID hit, I met my coach, my best friend, that was already a professional bodybuilder that just really mentored me to like really follow his footsteps, which is a blessing, right? But I mean, our own spiritual journey was like a twin flames, like we were just battling it out.
mm,
So that was hard in itself, but I feel like if you ask the universe for it, if you're willing to sacrifice for it and do
mm,
whatever it takes and let fear get out of the way, you're able to do whatever it is that you need to do to get it done. So the day by day is just, yeah, you got to go to sleep early. So like there was no partying, there was no boys, there was no drinking. Like for 3.5 years, I didn't date, I didn't drink, I didn't go out. It was very much like an isolated type of journey because everybody does those things.
yeah.
Normal people do go out, do go drink, do whatever it is that everybody else does. When you're a bodybuilder, you have to understand that like your lifestyle is completely opposite. So I took the journey and I did the best I could, and I excelled really fast because I was able to sacrifice everything that most people wouldn't.
Mm.
Yeah.
So where when you first started, like what was the daily schedule like?
You wake up whenever you wake up, probably around 5, 6, 4. And then you go into your fasted cardio, you go into your first meal. For me personally, I already had priorities set for the next day. I always plan my day for the previous day. Like
Right.
there's always a plan of attack. And then from there, I attack my work schedule. I go into my third meal, my second meal. I attack my work schedule. I go into my third meal. I go into my workouts. Like there is a routine that just kind of never stops. It's always very consistent. The only difference is depending on what phase you are in the prep,
Right.
regardless if you're off season or on prep, you're still working, but you're working on like opposite schedules with your food. So when you're off season, you're eating a lot more, you're recovering a lot more, you're sleeping a lot more. And then when you're on prep, you're eating less, but you're also recovering less. The supplements change. Like there's a meticulous, like habitual way of being.
There's a science to it. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
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 Yeah. That's interesting. Wow.
You just have to follow the plan. You have to trust the plan. You have to trust your coach. You have to be super honest with your coach. So there's a lot of things that come into play. And honestly, real talk, like no human is perfect.
Right.
Okay. So as you become a professional, regardless if you're a professional bodybuilder, I have good genetics as a woman. So I'm able to level up faster than some women. But and then also obviously, as you know, steroids or like specific like supplements help you enhance faster.
Sure.
But as a woman, you also know that there's like repercussions to it. Your voice changes, your face changes, things like that. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of psychological effects that I don't think that most people talk about, that I think that if you're going to the sport, you should know the
Yeah.
side effects that go on with the sport.
Well, I think the average person is probably not going to go to that level, right? But they just want maybe to lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds or be healthier or stronger or maybe
Yeah.
more centered or more, in touch with their spirituality, whatever the case may be. But you kind of built something in a creative way on your own journey. You were able to be vulnerable throughout it. And I know through your social media, through the community that you built during the pandemic on Zoom and you were coaching. I mean, what was it like in the pandemic? You're like, man, you were just building the momentum and competing and coaching, and all of a sudden, all the gyms are shut down. What was that like?
It was a scary fact that like you didn't know how you were gonna make income. For me, it was about giving to people that didn't have much. So I gave my service out for like 6 weeks for free. I learned how to virtual train for people,
Mm-hmm.
regardless if it was one-on-one or like a group training session. I made myself accessible to many to help people out. So it was definitely a shift and transition. And I feel like that's like when you thrive, when you're able to like overcome adversities, regardless of what happens, you're still able to give out of the goodness of your heart. And then after a while, you charge for your service. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was always able to like master my craft and be like, okay, I deserve like an exchange of energy for this.
Totally. Totally. And like you said, looking at it not so much we have a weird relationship with a lot of different things in life, right? Culturally, because of different trauma or different belief systems, right? Whether it's sexuality, whether it's financial, whatever. But like you said, it's an energy exchange, right? Whether it's financial, whatever it is. And so if you're exchanging, taking the time and energy that you've grown and learned all these skills and all the work that you put in to become an expert, it's only fair that exchange would occur if people got value out of it. And obviously people did. They continue to come back to your courses and to your events, right? So it only makes sense. I see a lot of creatives and even a lot of trainers kind of struggle with how to charge or how to run a business, right? They're like, my passion is being an artist, or my passion is a musician, or my passion is content or training or coaching, not necessarily running a business. And then you have other people who are out there charging a lot, running a good business, but they don't care, or they don't, the quality's not there. They're just doing it for the business. And you can kind of, so it's hard to have both. So how did you merge kind of your business training with that other wanting to give back kind of aspect of it?
Honestly, that's a hard question because I think that like, okay, I'm a Latina, right? Which basically means that a lot of my belief systems have been rooted from Mexican culture, which
Right.
is always about like giving more, and we don't even know our self-worth.
Right.
And that's the hard part is like I started to evolve and started to learn about limiting beliefs. I started to realize that our Latin culture is very limited. We're like paid less, right, than all
Yeah.
the other cultures. If you look at
Hardest working, lowest paid. Yeah. Totally.
exactly
Yeah.
white men, what is it like black men, like it just went down in at the end spectrum was like the Mexican woman. And I was like, damn, like there's a reason for that. And it's our belief systems around what we're worth.
Yeah.
It just trips me out because I'm in Mexico right now and I'm seeing all the women like just serve us. And I'm just like, damn, I wish I would marry a Mexican woman because culturally, belief systemly, like they're so serving to others, like, and we self-sacrifice so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of it for sure. What as you started to, compete in these spaces and build a business and build a clientele, like you talked about, you had partners. I mean, you probably had some great friends that you met, but you probably already found some haters and some competition as well. So how did you kind of navigate seeing, like, you know, in any business, whether it's in real estate or whether it's restaurants, especially in the gym world, I know it can be competitive, not only on stage, but behind the scenes. People, frenemies and different territorial stuff. Like, this is my town, or this is my gym, or, how did you kind of navigate that kind of stuff?
I think you just have to know yourself, you know, who you are.
Yeah.
As long as you know who you are and why you're here and who you're here to serve, I think you'll be clear on like the marketing aspects of it. For the longest time, I always told people like, I'm not here to be a Mexican gym. I'm here to serve the woman that's really here to transform themselves physically, mentally, spiritually. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's so much shit that no matter if you're a man or woman, you go through. With
Yeah.
spirituality, regardless, you have to go through some level of adversity, childhood trauma, adulthood trauma. It's always going to hit you.
Yeah.
But the person that really wants to level up and grow out of that has to do some level of work physically, mentally, spiritually.
Yeah.
That's why my gym was built to be able to shift and change people. But I also know that like 80% of people are just will never do it.
I know you had different versions of it over the years, collaborations, partnerships, outdoor, indoor, online, but then you got a physical brick and mortar location of your own a couple years ago in Gilroy. And I remember when it opened. Tell us about that. How did that come to be?
Yeah, I had to let go of my old partnership, and that was the hardest thing. I think like everybody that grows has to know they have to go through some level of growth and some level of like let go.
Yeah.
So my let go was my old nutrition coach, bodybuilding coach. And like I love him to death. We're still best friends, but don't get me wrong. There's a level of like trauma bond that some people have that will like
Sure.
lower their vibration because any single time that they will say something, it's always about the trauma that like was never healed. So
Yeah.
for me and him, we were like just butting heads back to back. And
Yeah.
our energy field was just like vibrating such a lower vibration. So when I was able to be like, I love you, but I have to love you from afar and I have to do my own thing, was really hard, like a
Mm.
divorce type of feel, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
me coming into like my own business, I'm like, I'm gonna do this on my own and I don't know how that was gonna look, but I'm gonna like do my best. And I was just able to grind it out every week by year. Like every day I would show up not knowing what it would be like, but like doing my best no matter what.
Yeah.
Whether it be training, whether it be coaching, whether it be sales, like I had to show up in every hat. And I just like grinded it out for a whole year. And I built the gym. There's amazing women that show up every month and that were really genuinely trying to work on themselves. So I think that's like
Yeah.
a blessing of everything, but just also knowing human nature, like not everybody's ready to evolve and grow at this pace.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. A lot of people, you know, they got to be ready. They got to want it. They got to be ready, right? And when they're ready, the teacher will appear, right? And maybe that teacher's you. So, what have you built it into now? Like, what is it looking like on the day to day?
On a day to day, I feel like I mean my trainers train for me, so that's awesome. Like they're able to like showcase the knowledge I transfer to them.
Awesome.
Like the training habits of a professional athlete. You're gonna engage with them, be present more than anything. It's just about building a relationship with your body, and then for me as a coach, building a relationship with food. For women, I tell people like women cope with food, right? So we cope with food, but men cope with their sex. So that like I make it a point the fact that like men and women cope differently, but regardless, it's still a coping mechanism.
Right.
There is a part of our journey where like we're not fulfilled within our own self that we need to learn to become aware of to be able to let go of those habits that are not serving, to be able to override it with habits that are serving.
Right.
So health is like physical movement, like nutrition, right? And just like hydration, sleep, like everything that matters. And also staying away from toxins that we're so accustomed, drugs, sex, alcohol, gambling, shopping, whatever. It's like these are the things that like are actually pulling away energy from us instead of giving us energy.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's really interesting. So, if someone is, I mean, I appreciate taking the time. I know you're on vacation, so I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me tonight. But if someone wanted to find you or wanted to join a class or join your gym or get involved with, let's say they resonate with everything that they're hearing in this conversation, and maybe they want to follow in your footsteps or they want to just be a client, like how can people find you or what would you recommend?
I mean, they could always go to lovehergym.com. That's like our website. Love Her Gym is an Instagram handle, so they can always go follow us. Love Her underscore coach would be my Instagram. So they could always follow. I mean, we're so active on our stuff. We're always giving more information on what could help people. You have
Yeah.
to understand that, like, as women, yes, we take on a lot, but then also our internal changes as we grow. So our hormones change. And that's the biggest thing is like people don't understand how our hormones are affected by like these habitual things like drinking or eating excess, that over time actually enables us to get like negative side effects, like
Yeah.
what premenopause shit or
Yeah.
even bad like cycle stuff.
Yeah.
So I try to educate the girls of like, hey, we should eat healthy, we should treat ourselves well, we should think about ourselves in the I ams more positively, right? I'm
Right.
healthy, abundant, I'm like anything that you want to become. But when you start to negatively psychology tell yourself like I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving, I'm whatever, it shifts you, your reality changes. So I really try to transform people by the way that they talk, speak, and act and feel about themselves.
Mm,
I just have no power to people to actually do it.
right.
That's the hard part, as like wanting to be that leader of like change, but realizing that everybody's going to change what they want to change.
Totally. Yeah. I've seen some funny skits of like the trainer walking around with someone slapping stuff out of their hand as they're about to eat it. Like that's basically what you have to do, right? Hire somebody to slap stuff out of your hand. But
Yeah.
so, I mean, it's been an amazing journey. I'm excited to see everything that you've accomplished. I'm glad to see that you're traveling again. But what's next? Like now that you've accomplished so much and really accomplished a lot of the goals that you set out to accomplish, like what's the next chapter? I know the kids are getting older and the business is kind of running on its own, but what's next for you?
Real talk, I feel like the second gym is about to open really
Okay,
soon. So
exciting.
we're thinking about more San Jose area, more affluent, like understanding of like the science and spirituality behind it.
Yeah,
So second location, and honestly, like taking women outside their comfort zone of like really extracting them and going into like the retreat centers. the seclusions of like getting centered and understanding their own power and not losing their identity. One of the biggest things that I hear in my consultations is like, I lost myself in becoming a mom. I lost myself in like this role of wife.
Right.
Like you should never lose yourself. And that's the hardest part of like understanding that as Mexican women, as Latinas, you're more likely to lose themselves because it's such a self-sacrificial type of journey for them.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, that's powerful. Well, I'm excited to see everything that you've done so far and what you're going to do next. And thank you so much for taking time to speak with me while you're on your vacation. And I'm excited to see what you and your family are going to do next. And congrats on all your success and all your future success. Thank you for spending time tonight.
No, thank you, Jordan.
Take care. Enjoy the rest of your trip.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.